Franklin, it must be tough for the world of squash, as it is a sport where you guys compete in such close quarters. Um, it's a lot of physical stuff that go on, but in these trying times, how are you managing?
Well, like I guess I was just alluding to earlier when I answered the phone to you, it is comforting to know that I'm not the only one in the same boat here. The whole squash world are under quarantine or self-isolation. There aren't really squash courts open around the world. So the way I'm finding it is just like all the others. I'm doing my best to manage my time to do the exercise that I can, so that by the time I get back on the squash court, it won't be such a shock to the system. So, I'm keeping up with what I can do, doing a few strengthening exercises and some circuits, some runs, just trying to keep fit enough so that it's not a huge, huge shock when the courts are allowed back open.
It's we've missed, well, we would have missed two tournaments, the Open and the Legends here in Bermuda. How much of an effect does that have on the squash club, that the opportunity to see quality squash, you and Noah being involved on the men's side, for the Open? How much do you think it affects the local game?
Well, massively. We actually were the first tournament in the whole world for the professional circuit to cancel their event due to the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
The PSA, the Professional Squash Association, then jumped on board with their whole tour suspending all tournaments. So, considering we got on it quite early, we're thankful that we made that decision because we had to do it so early, because it ended up being the right one, even though it is obviously it's a tough time for myself, Patrick, and Noah, when we had so much kind of our mental and physical training was all towards that event. So you kind of pause things, and it's all about the bigger picture right now. And I think everybody's just got to do our part for getting over this as fast as possible.
Given the sense that a lot of talk has been talking about things returning somewhat the second half of the year, what was your second half of the year looking like? And hopefully it can get back to that.
Well, the one thing I've seen is that no events so far have been canceled. They've mostly been postponed.
Mm-hmm.
So my second half of the year was actually free. I didn't have any fall tournaments. I didn't have any fall plans. All my spring looked pretty busy. I might have had 3 or 4 events that are looking like they're going to probably end up being postponed, I would assume, into the fall or early next year. So I'm not necessarily gutted that I think these events won't ever happen. I think they will happen. It's just finding the time that they will, and I need to be ready when that time comes. So as soon as those squash courts are allowed open, I could imagine that talks will begin as soon as that happens, and as soon as those dates are set, I'll be able to set my training accordingly.
It is quite daunting being in Bermuda, being a professional squash player. I know Nick spent time here at some point in his career. Noah spent time here. You're spending time here. How difficult is it to be in Bermuda and be on the squash circuit?
Yeah, extremely difficult. In terms that Bermudians have, we don't have the players that the rest of the world do to play with regularly. Being that I'm back now and have been back for quite some time to get married and to have a bit of personal time, I'm finding that to be the real hard part here. But saying that, there are plenty of things you can do to keep improving. And I'm finding that during my time here, I've put my focus not necessarily on improving my tactics, but improving my physical side of my game. Getting to know myself more has just been improving helping me improve in itself. So it is difficult that we don't have the players, but saying that, you can still become a better squash player if you're doing the right things and you have the discipline.
You look at your ranking now. When you first decided that professional squash was you was gonna make a career out of it, and looking at your rankings now, are you feeling comfortable that you're on the trajectory of where you want to be and where you plan to be in the next few years?
Well, to be completely honest with you, well, no, I don't. I don't know necessarily where this is going to end up for a lot of players with their rankings. The Professional Squash Association just announced that all rankings will be frozen for 6 months. Right now, there will be no fluctuation up or down for any player. And considering I took myself off the rankings for the period that I'm having for some personal time now, I don't know exactly if I will be able to jump back on and get to where I wanted to be. I was going to use these spring tournaments as a gauge to my decision. If I had done well and I felt that there was some improving had happened, then I was going to try and make a climb for it. But this is more important right now, getting through this to see what will happen after this is over.
All right. Well, we want to wish you all the best. Stay safe. Tell your wife I said hello.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully, everybody in the family is doing well. It's some trying times ahead for us. 2 weeks of home life, even further. So stay well, and hopefully, we come out of this very soon, and you can get back on the squash court and make those improvements.
yeah, thanks, Earl. We hope so too.
All righty. Thanks a lot.